Hey, I'm Keziah, and my piece is titled Silverman Inspector. Silverman Inspector is about a podcast editor who is editing a podcast from a comic book creator who she used to have a relationship with. And there is tension on both sides in that both characters sort of have reasons to dislike the other, and especially in the main character's perspective, she feels sort of bitter about the fact that she was called out for behaving a bit shittily. But really it boils down to a piece about queer representation in comic books and mainstream media, and also it's a bit of a redemption arc almost for a character. So the way we see comic books is hetero and male, and for a male audience and all that, to me, comic books have always been about the female audience because all my female friends were reading comic books. They were always talking about queer rep and how they wanted these two characters to get together, but it never happened. The more I've done my media degree, you just sort of become more aware of why it's not happening and the powers that be that are perpetuating inequality and representation, even though really the fan base does want to see it and does want to read it. What I get into in this story as well is the way that even people who do want to change it are sometimes roadblocked or just hit by so many sort of negative forces that they can't even make the changes they would like to see. I constantly am on Twitter and everyone talking about their favorite ships that they want to happen. Ships and that sort of thing can be a fun little way to outlet and do your thing, that's fine. But at the same time, I think as years and years have passed, and I've seen just so many fans be I would love these two characters to get together, but they're of the same gender or something like that. And just the fact that in the 10 years or whatever that I've been a comic book fan, it's just never happened. It gets to a stage where you're okay, no one actually cares to listen, or it's no one's wanting to do it, or if people are wanting to do it in the industry, someone is saying no, it's not gonna sell or it's not gonna be popular. And yeah, that kind of gets very frustrating, and it also just sort of shows that inequality, especially just representation and voices that are being listened to. So I do think we're at a time where, especially now with in the United States and Australia with gay marriage being legalized, change is happening, but it needs to happen on an industry level, and especially mass media, who is responsible for creating the idea of who is a hero, who should we aspire to be, who should young boys and girls be that's really cool, I would love to be like this person. And the fact that they're cutting out these larger than life characters that people obviously really love, hence comic book adaptations and all that are really popular, the fact that they're excluding LGBT relationship representation is really questionable ethically. I think if we are applying superheroes today, we need to look at marginalized groups in society, and that is queer people who aren't getting representation are constantly being marginalized. That's people with disabilities, that's women, that's people of color. At its best, I think superheroes can be taking those stories and magnifying them to larger than life to try and make the world a bit more fairer.